the way that we can help them rather than to criticize them. Christians, we are fond of doing that. I'm saying this for a reason. Okay, so because of how difficult life was, there was nobody to say take a CD for cocoa in the morning. There was no one to say I bought a shirt, take it. My mom was still struggling to take care of my junior sister. And I'm the breadwinner, I'm the firstborn, nothing was happening. My daddy, I didn't know him, my mom was broke and all that. And so sitting down with one very good friend of mine by then, we decided to make a step so we can change our lives.
Wow.
That is it. And so we sat down, discussed severally, and we concluded saying that there was a juju guy here, a voodoo guy, a fetish priest. I'm mentioning all this so that somebody can relate to what I'm trying to say.
That's right.
A spiritualist who was a demonic, satanic spiritualist, not that of God. And so we decided that this guy is very powerful by the testimonies we've heard from people that have gone there. So let's go and see this guy if he can be of help. Now, my guy was a Muslim.
Okay, so your friend was then a Muslim. So life was so difficult. Your life was so difficult. You were not making ends meet. Buying food was even a problem, and you wanted to, make it in life. So you decided to go and consult a juju with your friend, and you went there. What happened?
Okay, so we consulted this guy. Went to him, a very young guy who was a Muslim. Yes, a juju guy. So we went there, and the guy said, okay, he can do everything possible for us to make it, to blow, to be popular, but on a condition. The condition we didn't know. So we asked, what are we supposed to do? So I was thinking maybe he's going to ask us to bring our mom, picture of our siblings. Or I decided, I thought in my mind that if anything like this happens, I would just stand up and go my way. So I was contemplating. But funny enough, he didn't mention any of this. But he said we have to enter into covenant with the shrine, which is with the altar that he serves.
Wow.
That covenant, I thought it was going to be maybe something that he would give us to drink, something to bath. Many people testify and they say they gave them some mortar, which we call it in our dialect, to bath and all that. Right. They drank some, but ours wasn't anything like that.
Wow.
Ours was a blood covenant.
Blood covenant.
Blood.
Well,
yes.
If you just join us, this is My Story, His Call, and with me in the virtual studios is Prophet Nazareth Opoku Ajimai. What a story! What a story! Life. Listen, I love what he said from the beginning. He said, don't be in haste to judge people. People are going through issues in life. What have you been through? What have you survived? What are the challenges and the difficulties that you are going through so far as life and ministry is concerned? Our prophet is telling us the challenges. What led him to going to see the juju? He's now a prophet. He's now a man of God. But he's telling us the story before his call, the story before God called him into the ministry, the genesis of everything before calling him a prophet to do his work is what we are witnessing. And I want to salute many people who are watching us. I see Francis Boache is watching us. God bless you. I salute you. I see Oyokoba Inshira is watching us. I see Francis Kwache is also watching us. And also Francis Aye is also watching us. I see Ebenezer Fojo, Pastor Ebenezer Fojo is watching us. I see Richmond Dapa is watching us. Thank you all for joining us. Kindly share. And I believe somebody's life will never be the same. So now you went to the juju. The juju said that you have to enter into a covenant, with the God, with the juju. And it's like, what are we going to do? What happens? Tell us.
We were so eager to make it. So we didn't look at whatever that will happen afterwards.
Jesus.
And by then, I was a Rastafarian who wasn't only on locks, but I was also attending Rastafarian church. And in that church, our doctrines are different from that of the doctrines of Christ, of the good news of Christ. Where I was attending church, which I don't want to mention the name of the church, but
that's right.
I've said this on several platforms without a reasonable, without fear, because I know if the story is true, you don't even panic when you're mentioning names, but for
That's
some
right.
major reasons. Okay, so in the church, the doctrines that we were taught was about the history of Africa. It's like we call it social studies, like learning your root, getting to know your origin, that kind of thought. And so we're told to believe that Kwame Nkrumah was a prophet, Yasantua, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther, Haile Selassie, like they call him God and all that, and that there's nothing like spiritualities, it's only physical. So we don't have anything like demons. We are going to pray against satanic powers and all kinds. No. It was nothing like that. We know the Holy Ghost fire break loose. No, it was about Africa unity. And so Bob
And that was
Marley
a
was also a
church.
prophet. Yes, in the
That was
church.
a church.
And so that is
Wow.
what they teach. They teach about Africa. Africa must unite, So reggae was like gospel in the church, where they play reggae songs, Bob Marley, Lucky. Anybody who stood for the unism of Africa, they call that person a prophet, because they say we are the true Israelites, and we are the light, we are the people of Jah and all that. So with these teachings, took my mind off the teachings of Christ that I knew when I was growing up. From the Presbyterian church, when we go to Sunday school and all that, YPP, it just wash it off and make it look like it was just a fallacy, It wasn't a story that can be trusted. The white people came to Africa, like you have heard this severally, deceived us with the Bible and made us believe that there's some Jesus somewhere who died and will be coming back again, and took our goats and all that, just like that.
Mercy.
There's nobody that can have Jesus as his all by someone trying to introduce them to Jesus or making them know that Jesus is Lord and trying to teach them Jesus. I say this severally. I say this most of the time. We teach them the good news, the message of Christ. But for them to know that it is true that the message we are preaching is of him, all they need is an encounter. It's not about anything again. We don't do anything again. The only thing we can tell people out there is the message of the cross. We don't force anybody to accept Jesus or to believe that. No, because they can still believe, but yes, still, because they don't know whom they've come to believe, they are still double-minded in many things about Christ. But the only thing that settles the score is encounter.
Wow.
And so with all the doctrine says, and with all some people are saying out there, we have videos on social media, criticizing Jesus, blasphemy. It is not that way. You can only believe and stand for Christ when you have a personal encounter. And I believe that by the time we end with this, meeting, the Lord is going to show himself so strong unto somebody.
Amen. Wow. So you went to the shrine. The key word was to have a covenant. To have a covenant with this God. What happened?
So we can make it. So we the covenant was he gave us blade. He will give you a brand new blade that nobody has used before, and then he will ask you to cut your finger like this. And then when the blood comes, you pour the blood on his altar. And so after you have poured your own blood on his altar, you will say the things that you want the altar to do for you.
Okay.
So it is like you're going to put money at your church on your church altar where the pastor stands to preach, and then you will speak over the money. Father, with this sacrifice, it's a sacrifice. Okay, so please, anytime you're doing this, do it with understanding, because it works. And so our sacrifice wasn't anything material; it was our blood. So we poured it on the altar, and then we said, this and this and that is what we are looking for. After we were done with the blood covenant, before we would leave the shrine, there was a change of dialect between the juju guy and my friend, the guy that I went with.
Wow.
Yes. And they spoke in a language I didn't understand. It was a strange language.
So, Prophet, the idea was you went with this friend, right, to see this juju guy because you wanted to make it in life. You were struggling in life. Things were not working. So when you went there after the covenant, there was a change of dialect between the juju man and your friend who happened to be a Muslim.
Yes.
Correct. So what happened?
I didn't know what they were talking about. But then later, I got to know that they were conspiring to use me as a sacrifice for my friend. So even though the two of us went, and initially, whenever you hear two people goes to the shrine or travel to see a fetish priest or people, stuff like that, for breakthrough or money reason, most of the time one don't come back. Those who sleep in the coffin, those whom they give something to eat and all that, mostly one, because they will use one to make the other one prosperous, and that is how it works. And because I went with him, I've already sold my soul by shedding my blood, and mentally I had believed everything about the devil. And so me coming there, I've already surrendered to the devil that, hey, do whatever you want to do with my life.
Wow. I
Because
love what you said. So the mere
nobody
fact
forced
that
me to
you
go there.
went there, the mere fact
Yes.
that you went there means you've ushered yourself into that kind of stuff. Family, what are we learning here today? What have you been through? What have you survived? Listen, we are talking about a prophet, Prophet Nazareth, somebody who had an experience. He's now born again. He's telling us his story. That is why we have this broadcast. My story is called. What he had gone through, what he had been through. And this is an example for you and I to learn something from. You know, we can learn so many things from this. Maybe you are a young minister. You want to make it in life. You know, you want to see miracles. You want to see, you want to force yourself and do things that you are not required to do. What are we learning from this? This is very important. You know, we go to shrine, go and get powers, bring it to our churches, and we do miracles, and the end result, oh my goodness. This is somebody who had a similar encounter, and he's sharing his story with us. I want you to share. Let's invite people and let somebody also learn from this story. Go ahead, Apostle. What happens?
Man of God, like you said, it's not about telling what we've gone through just to make you feel that God has done something for us, or no, that's not the